yeah, 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 oh, yeah, mm, yeah, born and bred, saved by love, count my blessing from above.
And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending upon where you are around the world. I'm Marcus Holmes, and I'm excited to be back on Love and Stuff after one of a few vacations during the summer months. And I hope that you have taken some time to take some vacation during the summer months. Take a moment and click share and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, YouTube followers or subscribers, connections on Twitch TV or Twitter, 5 of the more popular ones to join in today's discussion. And I'm going to click share as we prepare to play a clip. I do not own the rights to any of the clips that I am sharing today, so it is very important that you hear that. But I wanted to share these clips because it's been a buzz. And in part, I think there are so many things that are happening in our world today that I think it's important that we have conversations around some of these things. And so I'm going to be clicking share and tagging some folks to join us. I just click share to some of our favorite groups, and I hope that you will click share as well and tag some folks to join us in this uh, episode tonight of Love and Stuff, where we go back and take a look at some things that have occurred and some violent things that have happened. And our thoughts and prayers are with so many people who've experienced violence because it feels like more than ever it's been running rampant, but maybe it hasn't been running as rampant as some would say, but it feels that due to many of the mental health issues and many of the issues that are happening in our world, that we're becoming more violent. We're more prone to violence, excuse me. And I think that if you follow the Bible, it tells you that in these last days, we're going to see a lot of violent things. And I believe that we're living in the last days, which is why love is so important. It is the order of the day. To increase the amount of love in the world in our community is the goal of the Love and Stuff community. And if you are on board with that goal, I hope you will click share and tag a few people who will join us in that goal. I see some people that are joining. Tamika Edwards is joining. Darlene Jennings has joined us, Benita Smith. I hope all of you will click share. I want to play a clip, but before I play that clip, I just want to share that as a human resources professional, a certified human resources professional with over 20 something years experience, I say something because, I must have been 10 when I started, right? But many, many years of human resources experience, I can tell you that I have seen a lot in the workplace. And to date, there has never been for me an instance where an employee should have been advised to strike a customer, let alone another employee. But to strike a customer, I've never seen an instance where an employee had good grounds for striking an employee. Yep, 10 years old, Charlie. I wish I could look. I'm going to put a picture up. I'm going to find a picture and put a picture up of Darlene Jennings, who looks like she's probably 25. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I'm just saying, I must have been 10. Uh, in all of my human resources years, I've never advised a department, a leader, an employee, a union that I thought that an employee had a right to go to violence. While it is true, you have a right to defend yourself in most cases that I've seen over 25 years. And I won't say I've seen every case, but I've seen a whole lot of things in my 25 years in employment, around employment, some of which will go in the book. I have seen in most instances where the employee had two things that they could do. They could choose to exhibit emotional intelligence, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and they could escape the situation. You really do have a right to defend yourself when there's imminent danger. and you are unable to escape the situation. And I rarely see that where someone is pinned in a corner in a door, has no way to exit except to fight their way out the door. In most instances, what I experience and see is people who aren't exhibiting emotional intelligence. They're not able to master their emotions in the moment, and their emotions get the best of them. So I'm going to play this clip of this Spirit Airline employee who has had action taken against him and this customer. I do not have clips of what happened prior to. It is alleged that the customer made several homophobic slurs at the Spirit employee. I don't want to cast aspersions on Spirit. I have flown Spirit. I have had good and not so good experiences on Spirit, but I've had that on American Airlines, which I think is maybe a different level of airline, right? So I've had that experience across different places. And so I won't cast any aspersions, but I will say that I want to hear your comments when you see it, and you've probably seen it maybe ad nauseum by now because there are a million views or more. It has gone viral. But whether or not this is the case where the employee could not get away. I want to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about emotional intelligence. And then I want to show, I believe I'll be able to share a second clip with you that shows a recent case that you're hearing about probably now of a woman who murdered her boyfriend, and they found an elevator clip of her beating her boyfriend. And so I want to talk to you about self-defense and get you to talk to us in the community about it. But talk about when is it okay for a man to hit a woman? There used to be a time where, and I think in some cases, and you saw on this airline, you might not see in this clip if I'm able to share it in the next clip, where another gentleman says, "Hit me, don't hit a woman." There used to be a time that, especially publicly, that men went to the protection of women versus other men. But in this case, you may see a different aggressor. So I'm going to play that clip. And while I'm doing it, I hope you will click share and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, YouTube subscribers, Twitch TV connections, or Twitter connections, 5 of the more popular ones. I'm Marcus Holmes, the love activist, and we're on Love and Stuff. And this is some of the stuff that we want to talk about because I think it all boils down to us being able to, in a more increasingly violent world, being able to master our emotions. And we all can spend some work time in mastering our emotions so that we show up, even in dark times, in love. And it's not easy, but it's something that we must definitely do. Watch this clip and click share right now.
You haven't lost your mind. Don't touch me ever in your life. You touch me first, and then you got in my face. Don't ever invade my personal space.
Get out of my face!
No, I'm not. I'm here. I'm here.
Won't come and ask
Me again. Me again.
out of
You're
my
touching
face!
me again.
It's all
You're
on
touching
camera,
me. It
sweetheart.
surely is.
You touched
It
me.
surely, but you in
You're
my
weird,
personal
ugly
space.
ass.
You're in my personal
Out of my
space.
face.
You're in my personal space. Stay out of my personal space. You she's touching me. She's touching me. And I'm don't put she can't put her hands on me. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, stop it! Hey!
Now, don't you ever put your hands on me. No. Everybody, back up from me.
I want to hear your comments on the video. I know there are comments going everywhere, but we wanted to highlight this tonight in Love and Stuff because is there ever a time that an employee should strike a customer? Now, I'm telling you, I have seen all kinds of, I call them flash videos. They're things that you can just see in a flash. You really shouldn't play over and over again and get it in your psyche. But I've seen over and over again in recent times where people are coming across the counter, customers are angry for whatever reason. Again, I believe, and I'm not a psychologist by trade, but I believe because
Many of us have been pent up. Many of us have experienced a lot of trauma around the pandemic, especially seeing loved ones pass away and loved ones fighting for their life and not being able to grieve appropriately and not having the space, working from home and being cooped up at home and rearing children and being with spouses that you had never designed to be with 24 hours, or maybe you were. Having so much pent up frustration, emotion, and burnout that we are acting out in ways that maybe haven't been recorded before. Because I think we've been acting out, but maybe we didn't have all of these video cameras. But it seems to be increasingly so. And you've seen them. I know I have seen them. People coming across the counter at employees, particularly in the service industry, but in other industries. You know, you've seen people knock over the register at Dunkin' Donuts, uh, grab people over the counter and punch them, walk around. People are increasingly angry and upset, and working in a service type industry, especially in any industry where there are customers, especially, it's important that there is emotional intelligence training to help people grow in their emotional intelligence. You know, emotional intelligence is that are part of the person. You have your IQ, your intelligence, you have your personality. And those two are pretty fixated unless you have a metamorphosis or unless you have some kind of brain injury or a cataclysmic injury that impacts your brain capacity. But emotional intelligence, I'm doing this because it's more a buoy. It can move back and forth, which means you can regress or progress with emotional intelligence. And it's how you master your emotions. And there are 4 components to it. The one that I want to share with you about today is the first one, which is self awareness. You have to become aware of what triggers you. What are your triggers? For some people, it's their patience, and they feel disrespected in their time when people don't take good custody of their time. For some people, it is feeling disrespected. It's a certain way in which you approach it. A lot of these stem from triggers and traumas from our childhood that we're easily triggered, some of us, when we're yelled at, right? If you had a situation where you were always experiencing someone yelling, it's difficult for you then to be in a situation where someone is yelling at you, right? That's a trigger. For some others, when people call you um, out of your name, if that has been a trigger, you've been in an abusive relationship, a verbally abusive relationship, and you're called out of your name, that's a trigger. We all have these triggers that we have to, one, become aware of and own, two, sit in so that we get used to what it feels like, and then 3, have a strategy for how we manage ourselves as we go through that trigger. Those are very important to do. And as you can see, and I'm going to play this again, this gentleman is saying, don't come in my space, but he's creating a boundary that's invisible because there's a whole bunch of space, right? And he could have walked away from her. I'm going to play this again so you can see this clip, so that I want you to think about that. When someone is triggered, you got to identify that trigger, be able to sit in the emotion, and then be able to master your emotions. I want you to see this again. I'm coming to Darlene Jennings' comment in 1 second. Click share, because I want to hear from you just like I'm hearing from Darlene. I want to hear from you about this trigger. Do you see him as being triggered? Take a look again.
You haven't lost your mind. Don't touch me ever in your life. You touch me first, and then you got in my face. Don't ever invade my personal space.
Get out of my face!
No, I'm not. I'm here. I'm here.
I'm here.
Me again. Me again.
Out of
You're
my
touching
face!
me again.
It's all
You're
on
touching
camera,
me. It
sweetheart.
surely is.
You touched
It
me.
surely, but you in my
Your
personal
ugly
space.
ass.
You're in my personal
Out of my
space.
face.
You're in my personal space. Stay out of my personal space. You she's touching me. She's touching me. And I'm don't put she can't put her hands on me.
Okay, stop it! Hey, hey!
Now, don't you ever put your hands on me. No. Everybody back off from me.
You can see he feels violated, right? But before he got to that point,
He said, and I think it's important to hear, he said, "You're in my space." Now think about it. If you're triggered, you aren't thinking, you have engaged the part of your brain that says fight or flight. You are not thinking in a rational way, because to think about the space of an airport, what space would really be his space, right? It's important that when you're triggered, that you're able to bring yourself back to center. And I'm gonna give you a tool that I think is very effective to use about getting to center quickly. It will help you get to center quickly. And I want to go to the comments, and I want to thank those that have joined: Victoria Board, Ricky Robertson, uh, who have all joined. And I hope you will click share and tag some folks to join us. We are just talking about some things around the Spirit debacle, the Spirit airline fight that happened, that has gone viral, and the employee has had some corrective action taken. So we won't delve into that as much in this moment. But it seems that we're becoming increasingly violent, along with the exploitation of that violence, because everybody has a camera, everybody can show what's happening, and maybe that didn't exist before. Darlene says, "At what point is the customer held accountable for their actions, progression, instigation, as she began to take a bully stance?" I agree with you. I think she was a bully, and I am saying that without the benefit of seeing what happened before this clip, Darlene. I don't have a clip that I can play. If anybody has it, you can send it to me, of what happened before this point. Okay? Clearly, he had already been um, irritated, agitated, but before you get to that point, because again, if someone is being disrespectful, right? Someone is, again, it's being alleged in some of the reports that she was calling him homophobic slurs. Okay. Someone's being disrespectful to you in your establishment of work. If you don't have security on premise, your next call is to the police. When you take it in your own hands is where there's a problem from an HR standpoint anyway. So not every place in workplace, now the airport has plenty of security, but not every workplace has security there, right? So if you don't have a supervisor there to witness, another coworker to witness, say, "I'm sorry, ma'am, whatever the reason is that you're upset, but I'm gonna need you to calm down, or I'm gonna ask you to leave, or I'm gonna have to call the police." That may or may not get them to calm down, because in some of the things you've probably seen on the internet, people say, "Call the effing, call them," right? And you do. You don't go back and forth with them, because I'm gonna call them, and then after they come, you cannot do that, right? From the employee standpoint, if there is an irate customer, because we are human, we have triggers, right? We have triggers. And you and I are tasked with knowing our triggers so that we can master our emotions. If your trigger is somebody yelling at you or getting into your personal space, you have to be able to sit in that emotion and say, "I'm triggered. And here's my plan out when I'm triggered. I walk away. Here's my plan out where I'm called out of my name. I leave the area." In this case, and again, we don't know all that precipitated it. Clearly, there is space in this airport, but he is telling her, "You are in my space," right? He could walk away. And if she follows him, I mean, where security is, I don't know at this point. But if she follows him, now she is bordering on assault. She's intending to do some harm, right? And she did hit him. Had she hit him and he didn't retaliate it, he could have had her, he probably still could, but he could have had her arrested for assault. Instead, "No, you're not gonna hit me." Not only does he tackle her, knock her down, if she was turned to him, God saved her, as Madeir would say, hallelujah. Because that man was big enough to have broken her jaw with that punch that he intended to land. Had she been face frontal to him, he could have done serious damage to her, which might in the moment been what he wanted to do. But in the moment, it's not the result that you want to have. In the moment, you want to maintain who you are. And that's what your emotions are. Your emotions have to be brought into tact to maintain who you are and not just act in the moment. Maintain in the moment and not act in the moment. So again, the first thing is mastering those emotions by saying, "I'm triggered." You got to recognize, and you might say it to yourself silently. You might not even say it. You might just think it.
When someone yells at me, I'm just using one trigger. For some people, that's a trigger. And you got to know that. And you got to know that's your button. Now, are you giving up control of your button to be pushed? You got to remember what your body feels like when that's happening. So you can tell your body, I'm going to get into control. And one of the quick tricks to do when you are in fight or flight is to ask yourself, what did I have in my last meal? Now, it sounds strange, and you might not even say it aloud, but what it does to your brain is it makes you move out of fight or flight and move into critical thinking. What you want to do is get yourself out of fight or flight and get back into critical thinking. And when you do that, you're better able then to master those emotions. Thank you for joining us, Autumn Nicole Holmes, Tabitha Goodner. Good evening. However, I think she is 100% wrong. She is. She was disrespectful and placed her hands on him first. People need to teach their daughters to keep their hands to themselves just as much as we teach men. I'm going to get to that point. I think that's a great point, Autumn. I also think if he was behind the counter, he never should have come from around the counter out in the open. Good answer. Ennis Woods, thank you for joining us. He had plenty of opportunity to remain calm and remove himself from the situation. I believe it. But here's the thing. To me, I think that's a great point. Here's the thing. When you're triggered, if you don't master your emotions, it's irrational. You're not thinking rationally. You're thinking, I'm triggered, and your emotions will lead you if you don't master them. That's why I say, in the moment, instead of acting in the moment, you're supposed to maintain who you are in the moment. Don't give up who you are in the moment when you're angry. Maintain who you are by mastering your emotions. That doesn't mean that you ignore that you're angry. You got to sit in that anger at least for 2 seconds, right? Deep breathing helps you to sit in that anger better. And you can deep breathe in somebody's face without going out at them, right? You can take in a deep breath through your nose, hold it for 4, let it out through your nose for 7, and ask yourself, what did I have in my last meal? Or what did I wear yesterday? Or when was the last time I wore a cap? Anything that's going to cause your mind to have to think, to go back in your mind, it's going to switch you out of fight or flight. The combination of that breathing, sitting in that emotion, because I don't want you to say, I'm whitewashing the emotion. You don't whitewash emotions, you feel them. You feel them in your fingertips. You feel them when your nose is flaring. You feel them when your ears feel hot. Whatever it is that your body signal sends you that you're triggered, it's a reminder to you that you are feeling before you're able to process it. So the next step to feeling it is to process it rationally. It's to maintain who you are in the moment. And it takes practice. It's not an easy thing to do. And you can regress depending on who the person is and how they can pull your triggers, right? Push your buttons, right? Pull the levers, right? But you have to in that moment. But I think all of you raising good points. He had opportunity to move, but I don't think he was able to do that. I wanted to go back to something earlier, Ricky Robertson, and thank you for joining. I think this is your first time with us in Love and Stuff, so I hope you'll come back each Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What about the one fruit of the Spirit called self-control? Jesus was under extreme stress and never lost his self-control. I don't argue that with you. Jesus is my main man. Like, what is the guy's name that said Jesus is popping? I wish I could say it like him. I do believe that Jesus was even challenged when he was turning the tables over in the temple. I think he experienced what we experienced, but you're right. He chose self-control, and the fruit of the Spirit will help us there. There are some people that aren't quite there yet, right? But one of the roads that we can help to get to mastering our emotions, because when we change our heartstring, it is a sensor to help our emotions as well. And that's what the Holy Spirit does, right? The power of the Holy Spirit does. It helps you change your heartstring and how it flows, right? Which is ultimate, right? In the employee setting, I'm going to go back to there for that employee. Fruit of the Spirit would be great for self-control and also mastering those emotions, because as your heart is transformed, it will help you to do that. On that path, mastering your emotions means that you understand it's okay to be angry, but you don't have to cross over into sin, right? Sin not, right? It is that self-control. It's that self-management, which is the second part of the emotional intelligence. Now that you have understood your emotions and you understand what triggers you, Now you master them, right? Really important. I think great point. And I appreciate that so much. Keep those coming. I hope that there was some sense of calm, humility, and apology made later. You know, sometimes employees find, I say they find Jesus after they've done wrong. They do. Uh, and I hope so. The goal, however, right, is to be able to be in the service industry where people are increasingly violent and increasingly our world, Ricky, has lost a certain amount of civility. We have lost a certain thing of treating each other as human, right? We treat each other as a transaction. And when the transaction doesn't go our way, all civility sometimes goes out the door. Anybody in customer service or service understand that? Even people serving in the church. Sometimes when people don't get their way, you be all kind of things, even in the church, unfortunately. But in most places where people treat people as transactions or a vessel to a transaction, what's lost is the humanity. It's lost on us to be human to each other, even when we disagree, even when we dislike what the other is saying or doing. So that's why emotional intelligence, of course, we would say that's why you need the Holy Spirit working in customer service. And you do, you should. But in a professional setting, you definitely at the least need emotional intelligence training because you are going to run across people who have had a horrible day and they're going to attempt to take it out on you. You're going to run across people who have lived out trauma. And what they're really trying to do is be seen and heard and trying to have power and authority. And you are the unsuspecting victim, right? And so instead of being in a position of victim, emotional intelligence helps you to take your power back to say, I'm not going to be drawn into Autumn's point. I'm not going to be drawn beyond the counter because I'm triggered. I'm going to stay right here behind this counter and work out my trigger so that I can respond in an emotionally intelligent way to say, hey, I see you, I hear you, you're upset. I want to give you space because I'm hearing some things that feel disrespectful to me, and I'm not gonna be in a conversation with you that's disrespectful. Hey, step back. Let me give you a chance to calm down. I want to see what I can do to help, or maybe I've done all that I can to help, and it's time that you have to leave, short of security coming. But I need a moment, right? I need to be able to have a tool that says I need to stay behind this counter. I need to stay in my space instead of getting in yours and saying you're in my space. You're invading my space, and it's all of the space in the airport. We're seeing a situation where she initially is the aggressor, and we are seeing women nowadays as more violent and found to initiate fights, escalate arguments. I'm gonna play a clip for you and Autumn because I want to get your opinion on that clip. I think you are absolutely correct, and I think in part that we have seen and experienced so much violence against women, and some women have experienced so much violence coupled with some mental health and mental instability that they're lashing out, that they want to be as strong, as big, as authoritative as that man, when physically that might not be the case. And I want to show another clip in just a second. A man should never hit a woman under any circumstances. He should have walked away. I want to get your opinion too, Tamika, because there's another clip that I want to play and see as well. Agreed, and a woman should never hit a man under any circumstance either. Never antagonize Billy. She should have also walked away. Both of them. Darren Williams has joined us, and we'll be, he is our newest installment of shows, our love shows. Darren Williams hosts Love and the Scriptures on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. Love and the Scriptures. I'm gonna miss that. So I'm glad to hear. I haven't seen her anything about incidents. I got to look into it. I'm gonna play the clip one more time, Darren. I want your opinion. It's not easy yet; it's attainable. Come on, come on. It's all self-management. Mom said folks can't push your buttons if you keep them covered and out of range. Yes, and I just add to that, Tabitha, knowing them, because that's one of the things we don't do very good at it. And unfortunately, it is my belief that African American men, because we are not reared to get in touch with emotions, there is a taboo around that that we don't even know. We don't. We know from a limbic resonance system. We know what we feel, but we have not articulated what our triggers are.
For some men, it is being emasculated. If it's money, job, if it's leader, but we haven't articulated that. We just know we turn up when somebody challenges our manhood, and that could be the case here. It was alleged she was calling him homophobic slurs. That's a challenge to an African American man's manhood, right? And so that challenge could be a trigger, right? And so that trigger he responded to. Customer service and customer care is very difficult to exhibit. Yes. Some tactics: talk softer and talk slower. Use pregnant pauses to slow down the timing and the exchange. Yep. And breathe. I would say breathe and switch your brain. The quickest thing is to switch your brain. Breathe, switch your brain. The switching your brain takes you out of fight and flight. It's a natural reaction to our emotions when somebody brings conflict to us for us to buckle up and be prepared to defend ourselves. And so to counter that very easily, you're going to re-engage a part of your brain that is all around critical thinking and processing. And all you have to do is call your memory fork to say, what did I do yesterday morning at 10 o'clock? Whatever question you can bring to your mind so that your mind says, I'm not in fight or flight, because you won't be able to do both. You can't be in fight or flight and not engage the part of your mind to think to get out of fight or flight. Your adrenaline can push you to some degree to have heroic strength, but when you're really thinking about critical thinking, you got to come out of fight and flight. And that's why emotional intelligence is so important. We're now beyond it is right for a woman to put her hands on a man, but as people, we must go back to kindergarten rules. Keep your hands to yourself. I agree. Gotcha for men. It's driven and triggered by how they've been handled by women too. Yeah. How it's a cycle, right? Tabitha, how we've handled women and how they responded to being handled by us. And that can all go back to how we've been handled, particularly those of us that are of African descent, how we've been handled in this passage that has brought us to America and worldwide, where people have dominated and subdominated cultures and people. Those things and handling typically happens to the slave and the woman, right? And then it's turned by karma or some other action to the man and the supremacist, right? And so it's a vicious cycle where civility gets lost, right? It's more about getting back at that person. And really what you want to do is get hold of your power. Breathe and switch your brain. Yes, 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 Ricky. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Darlene. Thank you so much. And Ricky, we've got a group called Inside of Love and Stuff. I'll talk about that later. We'd love to have you there as you get to meet wonderful people like Tabitha Goodner, Darren Williams, and others who are in our Love and Stuff community. And that's why our community is so great. It's not this young man who's looking younger every day. It's about these beautiful people that are in the community, and I hope that you will join us. I want to play that clip one more time for Darren so that he can see it and anybody else that's just joining to see. And then I want to go to this next clip because you all are raising something that really is a great segue for this next clip. So I think I'm going to go to the segue, Darren, then I will come back to you for this clip. Come on, looking younger every day. I'm telling myself that until it happens. Okay, let's see. Where's my clip? Okay, give me a second. Okay, I may have to share it from a different place. All right. Okay. I'm going to share it from a different place, and while I will go to that first clip. Let's do that. Darren, I'm going to show this clip, and then we will come back with that second clip.
You haven't lost your mind. Don't touch me ever in your life. You touch me first, and then you got in my face. Don't ever invade my personal space.
Get out of my face!
No, I'm not. I'm here. I'm here.
I'm here.
Me again. Me again. You're touching me again.
It's all on camera,
It surely is.
You touched
It
me.
surely, but you in my
Your
personal
ugly
space.
ass.
You're in my personal
Out of my
space.
face.
You're in my personal space. Stay out of my personal space. She's touching me. She's touching me. And I'm don't put she can't put her hands on me.
Oh, wait, no. Okay, stop it! Hey!
Now, don't you ever put your hands on me. No. Everybody, back off from me.
that's the clip of uh, the Spirit Airlines flight that happened in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. And I am going to share a piece of a clip of this OnlyFans model who is uh, beating up her boyfriend. So she's an OnlyFans model. No aspersions on the OnlyFans models there. Um, but she has, since this happened, she has been, her name is Courtney Clenny. She's alleged to have killed her boyfriend. Some would say that she has, in Miami, that she's um, pleaded, indicated that she did actually murder him, but she didn't intend to. But this video shows her attacking her boyfriend in the elevator. So I want to share this with you and get from you. Video. I do not own the rights to this video. Let me say that, and give you the opportunity to see that. Share that with you because I think it speaks to what Autumn and I think Autumn and Tamika especially were saying, but others as well. So I'm sharing this now. This is the video.
Allegedly shows OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny attacking her boyfriend Christian Obamselli in an elevator on February 21st. The video allegedly shows Clenny repeatedly pushing her boyfriend and trying to pull his hair. The man, identified as Obamselli, appears to push her back in an apparent attempt to block her attacks. 2 months later, on April 3rd, police responded to an emergency call from Clenny. When they arrived at her Miami condo, police say they found Obamselli stabbed in the shoulder. He was taken to a nearby hospital and later died from his injuries. Clenny's attorney insists the stabbing was in self-defense, stating that Clenny feared for her life during a physical altercation. Friends and family of Obamselli believe differently. "We have no cause to believe that this was a case of self-defense," Obamselli's cousin said. A friend of his said, "We've seen her hit him. I've never seen him hit her." On Wednesday, Clenny was arrested in Hawaii and charged with second-degree murder for the fatal stabbing of Obamselli. She's expected to be extradited to Miami-Dade County to face charges. For the latest developments in this case and all things true crime, stay with work.
So as you see in the video, here is the woman, uh, somewhat smaller than this gentleman. And you can see that he's not trying to hit her back. This woman is the aggressor in this incident. Now, what happened before they got in the elevator? I don't know. Was there an argument? Did he push her? I don't know. But what we see in the elevator is her hitting him, pulling his hair. You see him holding her at one point to push the elevator button, pushing her back, pushing her in another corner, trying to prevent her from hitting him. So I want to hear from you. Is there ever a time that it's okay for a man to hit a woman? What do you say? Now, I must admit, you know, having grown up in the time that I grew up in, it was taboo. That was frowned upon. I've seen it. I've seen fights, drag down knockout fights, but it was frowned upon for a man to hit a woman. But in today's society, when women are becoming more aggressive, is it ever right for a man to defend himself and hit a woman? What do you say? I want to hear from you. Give you the opportunity. We're live on Love and Stuff. Give you a chance to think about that. And while you are thinking about that, we have a wonderful love show that happens each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Darren Williams. It's called Love and the Scripture. And I want to share with you now so that you can prepare to join us tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Hi, friends of Love and the Scriptures. I'm inviting you to join me Wednesday, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, that's 5 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And as the rest goes. We'll be wrapping up in the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13. However, you should be doing a daily love checkup, measuring yourself against what Paul says love is like. For believers, this isn't optional, and we should be every day looking to see how we measure up to love. Looking for you Wednesday, 6 o'clock p.m. on the Love and Stuff platform for Love and the Scriptures. See you there.
We all hope to see you there along with Darren. He is doing some phenomenal work in the exploration, and I say excavation of scriptures around these pillars of love and intelligent love. You don't want to miss this intelligent yet heartfelt approach to the scriptures. If you want to know more about love, and you are in your life seeking love, I think you should join this journey of love and the scriptures. You know, in the love and stuff community, we meet tons of people say, "I'm looking for love, and I've been looking in all the wrong places, and can you hook me up?" Well, I have done some Cupid stuff that's been 17 for 17, but love is more than just your boo or bae, your husband, your husband, right? Your wife, your wifey. There is a love from the quintessential love, right? Which is God. He is love. And so he invites us, he woos us to love him with all our mind, body, soul, and our neighbors as ourselves. And so I say, this love is sometimes neglected. I know I got a ways to go in working on this love with him, even though his love for me is perfect. But I also have to look at what I call the second neglected love, which is the love of self. And so this exploration, oh, I'm going in now, okay? This exploration of love, sure. There, sure, there's nothing else there. All right. Hopefully that's better. Let me know. Thank you, Tabitha. Appreciate it. This exploration of love is not only to look without to see is the person that says that they love you, can you measure it? It's to look within and to see if the love consideration of your love quotient is correct. And so join Darren at 6 p.m. I think I said 6:30, but 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. You will certainly be tremendously blessed by that. And it's our newest offering, which is love and the scriptures. And so I want to go back to tonight's topic as 9:15. Fresh off vacation. Um, and I intend to take a little bit more vacation as we're on a self-care journey, a 12-month journey. And in this month of August, inside 11 Step, we're learning something new. And in this journey, I had the chance to go to Florida, not Miami, where this one incident happened, but Orlando, Florida. And I had a feast in one of these restaurants. It's called uh, Lobster Feast something. Lobster Feast is in the name of it. All you can eat lobsters, crab, shrimp, oysters, which I'm a big oyster fan, salmon, just fresh, delicious food. It was walking distance from the hotel I stayed at during my trip, and I saw a young couple. I guessed that they were in their early 20s, and they were a charming couple until I heard the way the woman was talking to the man, and I could tell that he wanted to say something, but he had at least some restraint not to do it in public. These two persons were of Hispanic descent, I won't surmise. And I was proud. Now, I don't know what happens behind the scenes, but I was proud that he didn't respond as I think a lot of people might, especially public, because it could be embarrassing. He was all kind of stuff. And I think primarily because in the store where there is souvenirs. There's a souvenir store that's not far from this lobster place.
that he got the wrong size or a size that she didn't think would fit. And she thought that him getting the larger size meant that he thought that she was overweight or big, is what I surmised with my good ears. And I thought about it, and I thought how quickly something like this, just like at the airport, can turn ugly. And the man in this instance, and probably in most instances, because he is considered to be the dominant person, the bigger person, the stronger person, would be vilified if he responded. I don't see as many times where people are saying, hey, 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 when a woman's hitting a man. As a matter of fact, as she was aggressing the man, if someone was standing in between, but it wasn't, hey, 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 go sit down. You didn't hear that much, hey, 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 go sit down. You heard a lot of him saying, you're in my space. And sometimes we go to bat for the woman, even if she's wrong sometimes. And I had a time where I did that, was thinking that the woman was right and she was wrong. She was the aggressor. And she ended up being the one taken to jail because she was the aggressor. I don't think that a man should hit a woman. I call it old fashioned. Now, I don't think a woman should hit a man. But I think if a man can restrain a woman, if he is strong enough to restrain her and can get away from her, or get help for her, or calm her down, I think that's the action that he should take. I think I was somewhat relieved, it may sound strange to you, that the woman's back was to the man when his punch landed. Because I feel sure that if she was facing him, he could have easily broke her jaw. He swung with that kind of intensity, at least from what I saw on the camera. And he would have done hurt to her. Her smack to him hurt his feelings, probably his pride, and she had no right to do that. She was absolutely in the wrong, should be arrested and punished to whatever extent of the law would have it be. And if you're saying that, I am with you spot on. But to respond in a way when you are not in control of your emotions can easily land a fatal blow that could kill a woman who is typically a less strong, has less strength, and is more fragile. Not every woman. I'm not saying, I'm not saying if Linda Carter was in her heyday, Wonder Woman, or any of the superheroes, Pam Grier, anybody in their heyday. I'm not saying walk up to them and try it. I'm saying that a man has to consider that he is probably a stronger vessel and that his rage, his anger, his emotions unchecked and unmastered could end the life of another with their hand, particularly a woman. And I don't disagree. There are women who are considered mouthy or mouthy, who instigate a lot and agitate a lot and will smack the guy, punch the guy, hit the guy. None of that behavior is condoned, especially not in the loving stuff. But you have to ask yourself, how do I respond when someone else's behavior is offensive to me, invades my personhood, is an affront to my humanity? Because that's what's at question. Now, it it hits differently because he was an employee of a company, right? Whose brand is at stake, right? The video is viral, right? So that hits differently. An example was more quickly and sometimes more readily made and sometimes more hastily made because a company has to take a position, take a stance, right? So in the employment environment, as a human resources professional, I'm going to say I can only think of one time where I advocated for a person who had to defend himself in a situation where he was in imminent danger and he had no other recourse but to kind of battle his way out of a room with one door to get himself to safety, to call security, to be able to, right? Out of 25 years. And I can tell you, most of these years, have been with the city of Detroit, I can tell you there have been a number of instances, not only with employees, but with citizens, with ex-husbands and wives who come onto the property of job. All kind of situations I've seen, unfortunately or fortunately. Fortunately, that I had the opportunity to learn, how to handle some things. Unfortunately, because you don't want to see people fighting, and just not a good look. But I'm going to say 9.9 times out of 10, the employee could escape the situation. They were not, are not, have not been in imminent danger, meaning there's no way out. There's no way that you could get loose from somebody who had you in a chokehold, but to break their hold and push them down. There was no way to get out of that room where someone was charging you, but to push them out of the way and maybe have to land a few hits to get out the door, to stun them in enough time to get out the door. That's not been the case. Most of it is precipitated by something that landed on the employee as disrespectful. And in that moment, it's not easy to say, I'm not giving my respect into your hands. Because that's what you do. When you or I decide that we are going to hit somebody, that we are going to harm somebody, that we're going to respond to someone's actions, we're really saying, my respect for myself is in your hands. That's why I say you don't act in the moment, you maintain who you are. So go back to who you are. Angry is how you feel. It's not who you are. Okay? Disrespected is how you feel. It's not who you are. You got to go back and maintain who you are while you're experiencing these emotions that are triggers for you. And the most important part of that is to understand your triggers. If you're in the service industry and you know that someone yelling at you reminds you of when your dad yelled at you and knocked you on the floor, and you feel that when someone is yelling, the next thing that's coming is hitting. A lot of people are wired because of their traumas and experience. Some people are triggered. For me, one of my triggers is when I know that someone is lying to me. People say, you don't know that somebody lying to you. I tell you, I swear for, I don't swear. But the saying goes, I swear for Jesus and the angels, that when someone is being untruthful with me, it doesn't sit center with me. It's like a piece of material that's on this side of my shirt that's just, I can feel it. It is not center with me. And I think that I can handle any truth that anybody would tell me. And so when people are not truthful, that's a trigger for me. And I know it. And I have to be able to master my emotions when people are not being truthful with me. You have triggers too, and you must know them so that you can sit in them and say, I know how it feels to be triggered. For me, it feels hot around my neck and my nose flares. And normally my eyes stay suspended. Just like they do. Yeah, they come down most times, but they stay suspended. You have to get to know, what does my body do when I'm triggered? When you feel betrayed, what does your body do? Because your body feels it before you're really cogitating about it, before you're really into the thought of it. Your body feels it. So you sit in it. And you don't have to sit in it long. You don't have to waddle in it, roll around in it. But you do have to sit in it and honor that there is an emotion that you're feeling. Honor the emotion. And once you honor the emotion, and it takes practice to be able to say, I'm upset, I'm fighting mad. You know how that feeling is for you. Then you have to start the breathing. And then you have to start the switch to tell yourself that you're not in fight or flight, so that you can begin to master your emotions. And you rinse and repeat. You practice it over and over again. So you know when that thing that your spouse doesn't do, and spouses, 9 times out of 10, from the single person who has interviewed and talked with tons of married couples, some of them successful, some of them divorced, and now they don't like each other no more, all the whole gamut. That's where all of my love uh, guidance comes. I should have it all written in a love Bible, right? Your spouse complaining about the thing is rarely about the thing. The thing is a representation of some other emotion that they're triggered by, typically tied to something else. Your spouse is incensed that you don't take out the trash. It's not normally about the trash. It's about the partnership, right? And not feeling that what they contribute to the partnership is enough for you to do your part. The wife nagging about those things that you aren't fixing around the house aren't always about the things around the house as it is about your commitment to do what you say you're going to do and to have a sense of urgency of what's important to her. Your husband's desire for love making every night isn't just because he's freaky horny. It could be, but it could be the way that he has learned about intimacy and how he experiences that, and your rejection of that is emasculating to him. And those bring triggers for some people because rejection, however it presents itself, is big for some people. Not being heard or seen is big for some people. Not being affirmed or validated is big for some people. Their personhood is big for some people, and it brings back triggers that they haven't worked through. And 9 times out of 10, when someone is triggered, their go-to is to trigger you. And if you and I can understand it, get into the center of our triggers and practice through them, practice breathing and switching through them, you will see how you will de-escalate situations and arguments, and you'll get more into mastering the emotion, which is the self-management aspect. And then you'll get into the third part, which is the social awareness aspect, learning to read the room and read your relationship, learning to read the spirit of a customer, no pun intended spirit, getting to the place where you see a customer that's coming to you that's already off kilter. Because most times you are feeling the energy that someone is bringing to your space before they even speak. And social awareness is about reading that, using your self awareness and self management to help someone else manage the relationship and interaction that you're having with them, which is relationship management, the fourth part of emotional intelligence. And so, in every situation, there is typically a precipitation period where someone is telling you through their body, energy, or words, they are conveying to you their displeasure, distaste, or dislike with what you are doing or what is happening. And the better queued up you are, meaning the better prepared you are to read that and the potential that those emotions can impact you, the better you will be able to respond with emotional intelligence. But we didn't see that in these two instances, did we? We saw an employee who was triggered. And I don't come to the defense of the actions that he took. But I know it's hard out here in these customer service streets. And it takes a certain kind of person to deal with the multiplicity of personalities that present themselves, many of which have been overtaxed and overburdened by a world and systems that have brought frustration and pain and death and grief and disease and peril to them. Now, the customer service professional isn't anticipating that,
but he or she should. And when customers and when boos or bays, husbands or wives or people come into your space, it will behoove you to practice queuing up what you're feeling in their emotions so that their emotions don't override yours. What an excellent, wonderful opportunity. I want to thank you for joining us, and I'm hoping that you will click share and tag 5 of your closest friends here on Facebook or on Twitch TV, YouTube events, or Twitter. We're on Twitter as well tonight. And I hope that you will share this widely. I know that the video has gone viral, so many people have seen it, but I wanted to use it as a tool because really, this kind of behavior can show up in your relationships if you're not careful. If you and I don't practice mastering our emotions, and it is a lifetime practice, you can regress and digress. Grief can help you, can cause you, if you allow it to regress in emotional intelligence. Because if you don't get in touch with those emotions around grief and you're not able to express them and account for them and honor them, then you will repress them. And your ability to respond to those triggers becomes dull. So you can regress when you have traumatic experiences in your life. And you can progress by practice. It only gets better the more that you practice it. Your emotional intelligence, your EQ skills, they call them emotional quotient skills, get better through practice. And if we continue in this world, and I hope that we do, stay alive, I mean, we're going to run across conflict. We're going to run across people who we've allowed to trigger us or who remind us of those triggers. Tabitha talked about covering them up, which is, I think, a good way to say it. But there are people who will somehow find out where the cover is and tug at it, right? And that's okay, as long as you have a plan to honor what you feel. This is not about ignoring your emotions. This is not about ignoring your anger, ignoring your frustration, ignoring your guilt, ignoring betrayal, how these things make you feel. It's not about ignoring it. It's about sitting in it and understanding how it feels and doing something about it, mastering your emotions. Building muscle memory around when I'm feeling frustrated, here's what I'm going to do. And I'm feeling it before I start to articulate it. Before I tell somebody, you make me sick, you make me angry, you make me mad, I'm mad as hell. Before you get there, you're already feeling it. You ain't sugar, honey, ice, and tea. You're already feeling something. And that's where you start with what you're feeling. Honor it, meaning that it's real. I'm going to acknowledge it, and it's brought to me in this moment, brought to me by wherever it is, whatever the commercial is. It's brought to me by the sponsor of my childhood, the sponsor of my troubles. Whatever has brought this to me, it's a commercial, and I'm going to watch it and experience it. I honor that it's present. Now I can choose to do something with it. I could choose to punch somebody till they're bloody. I could choose to stab somebody in the shoulder, or I could choose to walk away and respect myself while mastering the emotions that are showing up. And the more that I do that, I increase the opportunity for who I am to be maintained in the most tumultuous way. I hope that you will be able to use that to help you and not just watch the video and share it and share it and share it. I hope that it will cause you to think about your own triggers. Say, I don't want to do that, Aaron. And literally be telling somebody, you in my space, and she's walking up on her. That's clearly someone that's not in control of their emotions. You can choose to be that guy, but you can also choose to be someone different and experience different outcomes. And what I've learned and continue to learn is that when you make a better choice, you give people better options.
It doesn't just affect you. You make a better choice than the person that's doing that ranting and raving. You just gave them a better option because now they can choose to do something differently and try to trigger you because they've been triggered. I'm Marcus Holmes. This is the Love and Stuff community. I absolutely adore this community and I adore the people that are in it. It is filled with some amazingly gifted and extraordinarily talented and just awesome, loving people. And if you want to get to know more about them or us, go to the Love and Stuff community page. If you're there now, you may be, and click on groups. There's a group called Inside Love and Stuff. It's a small group of folks that are on a self-care journey to become their best selves in 2022. And it's a focus on you, focus on self, not so much focus on your spouse. Because guess what? If you focus on you and become your best you, that marriage is going to become better. Even if your spouse hasn't committed yet to becoming better. Why? Because you're opening up his or her choices. When you take better choices, it impacts your whole family and village. So join us inside of Love and Stuff and join us tomorrow for Darren Williams and Love in the Scripture and join us Saturday with Kamal and Felix in Sports Talk. Talk about two fellas who love sports. These guys are sports nuts. And they talk about all sports. Now it's football season's coming back, college football and all of that, the Lions, Tigers, and Bears on my all sports they'll be talking. And ladies, it's a place for you too. And even if you don't watch sports and your husband does, you should come learn some facts so that during halftime you can surprise him with some special facts. That's Love and Stuff for you. It's a wonderful community. We want you to join us. And we want to hear from you in the inbox of content that you want to hear, stories that you want us to share. We're going into a new season in September, and we want to share some wonderful things with you there. But those things are coming. But in the interim, drop in the inbox your show topics and ideas all around love and stuff, and we'll be more than happy to bring those to the forefront. And you can do it anonymously, and we won't divulge who you are, or you can definitely, come here live with us. Drop in the inbox for Love and Stuff. We love to have you, love to see you, appreciate you joining us. Do one more thing for me tonight. Click share right now. Tag 5 people who you think could work to master their emotions, and 5 people who you think aren't even aware about emotions, so that they can partake in this. And then later, they'll hear more information as we talk about some emotional intelligence training here in Love and Stuff. We want to share that with you and make sure it's something that can really be beneficial to you. Emotional intelligence is the single biggest predictor of professional and personal success. Think about that. Not just success in your professional life, and you definitely want it for that, but in your personal life, emotional intelligence will shift the game for you. And so I want you to tag some people who you say, hey, yeah, this could be you. You could be that angry person. You could be that upset person. You get triggered. Tag them so we can start the dialogue with them and help us to increase the amount of love in the world. I believe if we're living more emotionally intelligent lives, we will have more grace and patience for people when they're triggered, and we will keep it from triggering us. We can assist more people in this world who are angry and hurting, and they don't feel seen or heard. They feel powerless. They feel impoverished, not just financially, mentally. They feel like they're stuck. They feel betrayed and they feel alone. And it shows up in their emotions. And when they're triggered, they don't have the tools to navigate it. Now, what would it be if you had the tools to navigate it? You could help us, my friends, increase the amount of love in our world.
And that's our ultimate goal here in the Love and Stuff community. I'm Marcus Holmes, the love activist. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to click share. And we'll see you next week. And we'll see you tomorrow or Saturday. We'll see you next week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Love and Stuff.